Should probably set this up if I'm gonna edit this into a YouTube video. It's what Ludwig does, and I am just copying him. What is gonna happen? Hold on, I gotta fix my hair. Looks ridiculous right now. Yeah, much better. Alright, so the plan is simple. What's gonna be happening is I'm going to be given a topic by my compadre, Pink, and then I'm gonna spend some time learning about it on my own, and then I'm gonna reconfer with him to see how well I've got it, and then he'll kind of fill in the gaps. So I'm gonna go from there.
For those of you who don't know, I'm a kind of a U.S. history buff.
Nerd.
So listen. U.S. history is
Marabou.
short but very interesting because we're the most powerful country in the history of the world. We're the richest country in the history of the world. We're not going to mention the Vietnam War or the Korean War. It's fine. We don't need to mention that. Or the Iraq War or the Afghanistan War.
Look. For an American,
Anyway.
You're really detracting.
Listen, let's bring it back. Okay, but a lot of people have been talking about the Second Amendment. We've been talking about the Founding Fathers. So let's go all the way back to the election of 1800.
Election of 1800.
To some, that might seem kind of boring. Why are we going back 200 and 300 something years? Okay, like why does that even matter? Okay, this is a very important election. It's very interesting. There's a lot of things that went on during this whole thing. A lot of things that might be memeable.
Oh, I like memes. I put an exclamation point after it, so it has to be interesting. Let me underline that a couple times. All right, so let's just get the quick rundown. The Federalist incumbent, so it's a John Adams type of meme, ran against the rising Republic. Oh, it's John Adams, TJ, the good old dudes. Was this in I've seen the John Adams TV show a while ago, so.
The HBO one from 15 years ago.
Yeah, so that's probably.
Yeah, I've watched parts of that.
I kind of remember that show perfectly. So Jefferson and his vice presidential running mate, Aaron Burr, both received the identical number of electoral votes, and the House of Representatives voted to break the tie. So that's where we're at right now. Is there anything else you would like to foreshadow, like set up?
I would say that if you have seen, or actually you probably haven't, have you seen the play Hamilton?
Nope. Not
okay, there is a song. There is a song in there called "The Election of 1800,"
okay.
And if you come across it, I would not listen to it because it's not right. What happens in the play is not actually what happens.
Oh, so, okay. So the play.
That's it.
So if I was gonna go listen to that song for a historical reference, that would be bad.
No, it's actually not true. It gets it kind of right, but also just completely wrong at the same time.
Probably copyrighted, so probably not gonna do it. All right, Pink. I appreciate it.
All right, have fun.
We'll see what I can learn, and then we'll discuss it when I come back. When I'm done learning everything,
right.
It should only take.
I'll be sitting here getting salty, playing a Falco that lasers me to death from the other side.
That does sound like you, so I believe you.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
I'm leaving.
See ya. Fucking nerd. All right, let's just find a quick YouTube video and bang her out. It should only take a second to become election of 1800. YouTube already knows what I'm looking up because it's creepy. All right, there's the song. We don't want this. Well, let's just listen to a quick second ago. What kind of beats it got? Don't let them know what... I learned that from you. Yeah, just classic Hamilton cringe. Okay. So, can I tell YouTube not interested? Keep this shit away. No. Whatever, I can't tell it to keep that shit away from me. Alright, so which of these videos are we going to dive into? It's got a lot of videos. Alright, this video is 3 minutes. This video is 10 minutes.
Elections in American history.
Oh, I know about that. I'll take notes.
The fourth presidential election in American history was held from Friday, October 31st to Wednesday, December 3rd, 1800. It was a significant
Whoa, we already
election.
missed a date. Hold on. So we're starting off October 31st, so it's a little spooky. Wait, I missed the very basic.
The fourth presidential election in American history was held from Friday, October 30th.
It was held over this whole period. Okay, so memes, keep that in mind. Memes are going to occur because this election took place over a month. Fourth election about a month. This could be important.
100. It was a significant election. In fact, some call
significant even. Significant.
the, quote, Revolution of 1800 due to the political realignment it created. It was essentially a rematch between incumbent President John Adams and his off-and-on friend
Between Johnny A and T.J. They have so many classic
enemy
notes.
Vice President Thomas Jefferson. In 1800, Adams and Jefferson were far from friends, but now they seem to hate each other. Their campaigns were just plain nasty.
Let's get a look at this. Let's get a close-up. He in a trice struck yon thrice upon his head, enraged, who seized the tongs to ease his wrongs, and Grilfwold thus engaged. That sounded cool. I didn't really get what it was saying. He seized the tongs to ease his wrongs. So what's that trying to say? What even is that for? It looks like a fucking fireplace implement. So it's saying cheekily that he hit him to feel better for being wrong. Man, these guys are so witty, dude. He says you're so witty and cool and smart. So in a trice struck yon thrice upon his head enraged. Okay. What else?
Jefferson supporters said President Adams
Wait, what
had
was the point of that?
campaigns
Who was
tried
hitting
as
each other?
president and
Did he
vice
say?
president, but now they seem to hate each other. Their campaigns were just plain nasty. Jefferson supporters said President
Was someone claiming that
hate
they
each
hit the
other.
other one?
Their
Is that what's going
campaigns were-
on? Congressional pugilists. I know what that means. Congressional pugilists. Oh, so that's the name of the cartoon. Oh shit, we can look up the meaning of it. Let's go. Cartoon research. Cartoon analysis. Congressional pugilists. 1798. Oh, so this is when this was still pre-election though. Anonymous cartoon. Dude, this was drawn by that hacker dude I've heard so much about. Anonymous drew this? A representative, Matthew Leon of Vermont, a Jefferson Republican, responded to taunts about his military record by spitting tobacco juice in the face of Roger Griswold, a Connecticut Federalist. Outraged that the House didn't punish the spitting Leon, Griswold took matters into his own hand. Oh, to right his wrong. He seized the tongs. Leon and grabbed a pair of fire tongs. Oh, they were a fireplace implement. The two ended up wrestling on the floor of the house. You know, boys are just gonna be boys, you know? They're just gonna go at it. That's actually so gross. You just spit tobacco on them. Yeah, not really bueno, MO. So this is like a Jefferson Republican, and then he was hitting a Connecticut Federalist. Oh, so the Jefferson guy spit. Okay. Oh, because they're the rambunctious ones. They're seen as rambunctious. The Republicans. All right, we can keep going.
were just plain nasty. Jefferson supporters said President Adams had a, quote, hideous hermaphroditical character which has neither the force and firmness of a man
Holy
nor
fuck.
the gentleness and
Holy
sensibility of a
fuck.
woman. Adams supporters responded by calling Vice
That's brutal. They said he's the worst of both worlds. They said I don't care which one he is, but he's just got the worst attributes of either. I'll tell you what. That's fucked up. Damn.
gentleness and sensibility of
These
a
gentlemen
woman.
are brutal.
Federalists called Jefferson a bad Christian who had too much sympathy for the French Revolution, while Democratic Republicans said that Adams was giving too much power to the federal government, talking trash about his signing of the Alien and Sedition
Oh, so it's an Alien Sedition Act maybe. I know that's a whole rabbit hole too. We can look into it a bit. I'm just looking for a summary of this. Let's go to the Wikipedia page. Were 4 laws passed by the Federalist-dominated 5th United States Congress and signed into law by President John Adams. They made it harder for an immigrant to become a citizen and allowed the president to imprison and deport non-citizens who were deemed dangerous. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is topical today. What the fuck? So first we're going to start off with someone that's easier to draw because I'm looking at him. Good old John Adams, round-faced McGee. Versus more of a square face kind of guy. He's got hair up top by IRC. Johnny A. TJ. So first off, Johnny A gets a dude gets spit on. Well, that's not that important. Calls him worst of both worlds. Calls him dumb. Okay. Claims Adams, a government bootlicking SOB, and Alien and Sedition Act was cringe. Think I'm following?
With this election, political parties officially chose running mates for Adams and Jefferson, hoping they each would be elected the vice president, therefore avoiding another embarrassing result like the one after the election of 1796, where two dudes with opposite views were in the executive branch together. The Federalists chose Charles Cotesworth Pinckney as Adams' running mate, and the Democratic Republicans chose Aaron Burr. Remember, under the original Electoral College, each elector could vote for two people for president. The top two candidates would be president and vice president. And here are the results. Thomas Jefferson and Aaron Burr both received 73
They just
electoral
tied. Who the
votes,
fuck you,
ensuring
Burr?
the
Oh,
Democratic-Republican
You're
victory.
in shit compared to
One
TJ.
of the Democratic-Republican electors was supposed to not vote for Burr, but he did anyway.
Oh,
So
fuck
with
that guy.
Jefferson and Burr tied, the House of Representatives had to choose one of them to become president. Partially due to the always influential Alexander Hamilton, the still mostly
Yeah, that's a reference. When they said Alexander Hamilton, he's actually referencing the play you guys probably haven't heard of. So maybe you should look it up. It's called Hamilton. It's pretty pog.
Federalist House went with Jefferson. Jefferson became the third president, and Aaron Burr became the third vice president in American history. John Adams became the first one-term president when he received 65 electoral votes. The Federalists planned a bit better by giving 64 electoral votes to Charles Cotesworth Pinckney and 1 electoral vote to John Jay. This election was significant because it
Oh, so that's it. We're good. We're good. He just lost.
Remember, under the original Electoral College, each elector could vote for two people for president. The top two
Oh,
candidates
everybody
would be
gets to vote
president
twice.
and vice
Okay.
president.
Oh,
And
so that's how
here
they
are the
tied.
results.
That makes
First
sense.
of
That
all,
makes
it's
sense. Wait, if everybody gets to vote twice, that's kind of cringe, right? I feel like you're gonna get near ties all the time. Oh, but you don't have to vote twice. So they just say, Steve, you don't vote. Don't
the
vote
still
for
mostly
Burr.
federal
And then Steve says, I'm gonna
Democratic
vote for Burr.
Republican-
He says, I'm gonna do it. I wanna vote for both. And they're like, no.
electors
If you
was
vote for
supposed to
both, then
not
they're gonna
vote for
tie.
Burr, but he did.
Wow, guys, get out to vote. Come on, just do it. Get out, vote or die. Vote or die. Come on.
I'll see you for the next election, but
All right, we can watch this big boy. I think we're ready. See what this guy has to say about him. Okay, he's got music. He's got beats.
Ding dong, learning's back.
Not
Hey guys, welcome to
in
Confused
focus,
History.
though.
In the next few minutes, we're going to take
He
a look.
is out of focus for this. Do I just have low? Yeah, you are out of focus for your 100,000 view video. You could redo this take. You could like do a take where you're in focus the whole. It's fine. I'm just saying you could be in focus here. There's no reason you have to be out of focus. Like you could do a new take. It's fine.
Look at one of the most exciting and contested elections.
Like it's just so distracting that you're not in focus. Like maybe this is just your
in
camera.
American history, the election
I
of
assume it's not
1800.
Let's watch this guy. See, he looks more excited about it, and his video is titled "The Revolution of 1800."
We get to the third presidency of the United States, that of Thomas Jefferson. Wait a minute, what about
TJ?
the president, John Adams? He's my favorite president of all, said no one ever. Now, I
Wow.
happen to love
Wow.
John Adams, even though he was in the election of 1800, Thomas Jefferson won. So let's do it.
It's time to kick it old school.
Thank you for making studying funny, fucking nerd. Imagine studying for fun, bitch.
Each other in 1800.
That's a Hamilton book in the background. This guy's cringe. I want someone to talk about like the good stuff. This should be the final one though.
I'm Mr. Drosty, and today we're going to talk about the 1800 election, a true turning point election in American history that influenced every presidential election to come after it. This is, of course, when Thomas Jefferson becomes the third president of the United States, the first Democratic Republican to become president. It's the first time in
Yeah, speed
American
up.
history where you have one party, the Federalists, led by President John Adams. At the time, in the Electoral College, every elector, the people voting for president, had 2 votes. So essentially, they could cast
Keep in mind, my video's on 1.25 times speed right now, and this guy still feels like he's talking a bit slow. I'm just saying.
Cast their vote for their top two most favored candidates. Well, in 1800, you had Thomas Jefferson running alongside Aaron Burr. Burr was to be the vice presidential.
Wait, so since they tied, I gotta go back. I kind of zoned out. This shit's boring.
House of Because Aaron Burr and Thomas Jefferson tied, this election would be thrown to the House of Representatives. So again, there were 16 states at the time. You needed 9 states to vote for you to become president. And this went on and on and on. Hamilton, one of the most influential Federalists of that era, he wrote letters, constant letters, to the Federalists, urging them to vote in Thomas Jefferson. Hamilton did not like either of these guys, but he really distrusted Aaron Burr. He told his fellow Federalists, you can't make Aaron Burr president, vote for Thomas Jefferson. And what happened was Thomas Jefferson became the new president.
Now we're going to go over it again. This is going to be our review board. This is going to encompass it all. This is going to be our big picture. All right. So, I say all right so all the time. It's what I do to trick myself and then getting productive. All right. So, fuck. First off, all right, we need to make a map. No, we need to make a timeline. We'll just break down the basics. So, Adams was president. Oh, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. Spice it up. Spice it up. Draw a little picture. This nice little round face. This nice curly hair. Draw a thumbs down. How do you draw thumbs down? All right. Stay there. Perfect. How should I draw this? Who's a classic VP? Who's like the classic? Al Gore. Thank you. How do you draw Al Gore? All right. Rectangular ass face. I'm not drawing Dick Cheney. He was basically the president, idiot. All right. I'm going to draw ears. Everybody knows Al Gore had ears. That's a well-defined Al Gore trait. Lips. Slight little smile. Nose. Little beady eyes. These eyes are kind of beady. Look at these. Hairline. No, that sucked. Radio. Alright, this is his hairline. Alright, that's clearly Al Gore. No one can argue. Just in case anybody's not sure. Hamilton said Burr is sus. And then, whoop, whoop, did you get bad? And then, piece de la resistance. Womp, womp. There it is. Final picture. We'll draw him with a little round. Okay, we're gonna get a little bit more detail on this guy. He deserves it. Our king. Slay King. All right. I think we got it. I think we're ready to get in here and see what score we got. Hello?
Hello.
All right. I'm ready to review. They'll probably blow you away.
Well, these drawings are something else, I have to say.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to present all the information. Then we'll go over any fun anecdotes that you have, any changes, anything that's wrong. Probably nothing. All that stuff.
It's perfect. I mean, I don't think I need to change anything, to be honest.
The Revolution of 1800. Adams was the president. He had beaten good old Washington. Not beaten. Washington retired. But then people, the Democratic Republicans, disliked a lot of the things Adams did, like the Alien and Sedation Act. They said that was cringe. They're like, we don't like that.
The Sedation Act or the Sedition Act?
I don't know.
You got to sedate a lot of people? You got to put a lot of people to sleep?
Fuck. Yeah, they're sedating the aliens. All right. So, people, the Democratic Republicans, dislike certain things he did. It's my thumbs down that I drew. The vice president, up to this point, was just the dude with the second most votes. But everybody got 2 votes. So that's how they did it. And then I drew Al Gore because he's a famous VP, famous vice president.
Kind of looks like a little bit like Obama. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, Obama wasn't vice
Got
president,
some
so
Obama vibes.
so it can't be Obama. He wasn't vice president, so sorry to inform you. And then some idiot fricked up the plan and gave TJ and Burr votes, so now they were tied. And then I drew Baka in Japanese. I wrote Baka in Japanese. It means idiot.
It's a little unnecessary, but okay, let's keep going.
Well, he fucked it up. If he would have just not voted for Burr, we wouldn't be in this situation. So since they were tied because he couldn't follow the plan, the majority Federalist House was the tiebreaker, and I said OT for overtime. But the feds didn't really like Thomas Jefferson. They're like, that guy sucks. We hate him. And that's Thomas Jefferson looks sad, and he has like the little thing done over him. So then they just kept making it go for longer and longer, and a lot of them didn't want to vote for TJ because, you know, spite and they didn't like him. But then Hamilton came in and he said Burr is actually sus, and I drew
Nice.
a monkeys.
Used a modern lingo.
Yeah,
Nice.
modern lingo. They said Burr sus.
Getting the Zoomer crowd.
Yeah,
I
we're
like
getting
it.
the Zoomers into history. They're gonna they'll see Among Us and they'll be like, "Ooh, history."
History through Among Us. What is that?
History.
That's the title. of the
History
video.
through Among Us. And I just set up like an Among Us lobby, and like teach history through Among Us.
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah.
god! Like it goes to like the debate, whatever. Like the
Each
other.
person's a different. Each person like plays a different character, and you have to like. Yeah.
Oh my god, that'd be
This,
so.
this is amazing. This is
That'd be
amazing.
so funny. All right, and then that tipped it in TJ's favor, and then it's Thomas Jefferson. He's wearing his king crown because now he's the king of America. He's the
Correct.
third king of
Or
America.
the third king. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta say, a lot of the time I feel like spent on this was like doing the drawings.
No,
Is
probably
kind of what it looks like.
probably not. Probably I just banged these out because I'm really artistic.
Can I say that all those videos were terrible that you were looking at?
A lot of them
Except
just,
for Mr. Beat. Except for Mr. Beat. His is supposed to be concise on purpose.
yeah,
like
a
Mr.
lot of
Beat.
them just skimmed over the whole part with Burr and TJ tying a bunch. They're just like,
Yeah.
and then they tied a bunch, and then they didn't tie, and then TJ won.
Actually, the last video we watched was actually he did some.
Yeah, he talked about it.
some
He
good-
was
some good
he
stuff.
was super slow talking though. I had to put it in 1.25, but it
Yeah.
still sounded like slow.
All right. That was pretty good.
All right.
It's like all these videos and the information you got was like, it's like, okay, it's what happened. But I feel like that's what most boring ass history teachers do these days. They just like, it's like, here's what happened. It's like, no, you got to tell them, okay, why this is exciting, why this is interesting,
That's
and like
true.
why it matters today. So before the election of 1800, you got Burr and Hamilton fighting for the state New York City delegation elections. So, well, not New York City, New York, but New York City was like the only city in New York at the time besides Albany. So you got Burr, who's this sleazy, like womanizer.
Let's
He had
go.
one daughter. He had one daughter, and after his wife died, he had all these affairs, and that was the only thing he'd write to his daughter about was having these affairs with these women. It's the fucking weirdest thing ever. It's so creepy. Anyway, she died at like age 29 at sea. Don't worry
Oh.
about that though. His daughter, yeah, sadly. Anyway, through the New York delegation races, it's modern campaigning is kind of invented. Before this, the way you ran for president or for any race was basically like, oh, I'm this guy, you kind of already know who I am. You kind of already know my policies, and you're probably going to vote for me if you like me, or you know what I'm saying? It was
Right,
very just
right.
like, vote for me or don't vote for me, fuck you. But with this one, the New York delegation was owned by Federalists because they're all merchants, they're all money people, they're all bankers, and so New York was like the Federalist stronghold. But Burr saw a chance here to get the Republicans to take over New York, and therefore all of New York's votes would go for the Republicans in the next election, and then the Republicans would win. Because the only reason Jefferson lost the previous election was because of New York, basically.
Okay.
And if he would have won New York, he would have won. So through this, Burr invents modern campaigning by getting lists of voters and like their political affiliation and their finances, and then he goes door to door asking for funds. He gets people he organizes people to like transport people to the polls.
Whoa.
Throughout this time, Hamilton and Burr are running around New York City, giving these giant speeches on the street, not sleeping. There was a quote from this dude who was in New York City at the time. He was like, if you walked outside during the day during this time, you would find one of them yelling on the street at people, trying to get people to vote for them. So anyway, Burr is successful. The Republicans sweep the New York delegation, which basically means that New York is going to sway the Republicans in the next election. And because Burr did this for the Republicans, he swept the delegation. The Republicans were like, "Oh, he's a pretty cool dude. You know, he
Oh,
did this
right.
for us. Let's give him the vice president ticket. Let's get him on there with Thomas Jefferson." And Burr knew that. That's why he tried so hard to do
Ah.
that. So, meanwhile, Adams has this revelation that Hamilton had been controlling his cabinet the entire time and basically running the government. And that actually was happening. Hamilton was sending letters to Adams's entire cabinet and telling them how to run the government.
Oh.
Because nobody knew what the fuck to do at that time because nobody had run a government before. And Hamilton's the only one who knew how to run the government.
Oh.
So Adams figures this out. He fires his entire cabinet. Okay. At this point, Adams is he's emotional. He's like bitter. He's angry. He's like, his teeth are falling out. He's
rough.
graying. It's rough. Yeah. He's got like he's really sick all the time. So he fires his cabinet, writes a letter about how Hamilton's been controlling his government, how much he hates Hamilton. Hamilton has a history of just destroying people with words.
Okay.
Just rebutting them with
a real Ben Shapiro type.
For sure. Oh yeah, for sure. Except combine Ben Shapiro with like who actually has like substance in their speech. Like,
yeah, Ben Shapiro. Have you ever listened to him speak? Come on.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Just imagine Ben Shapiro, but the most intellectually sound, well-rounded writer.
Oh, like Steven Crowder.
So he actually has substance. So it's not.
I see.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So combine Alex. So combine Alex Jones.
Yeah.
Steven Crowder. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think you saw in the video, Hamilton writes this 60-something page pamphlet on how much he hates John Adams.
Yeah.
And which was like people didn't like that. That was kind of political suicide for Hamilton. That kind of in a way.
Right.
But it did hurt Adams a lot. So the election, okay, you've got Hamilton who's like berated Adams, and he wants John C. Pinckney to become president, and that is Adams's running mate.
Right.
So Hamilton is trying to get people to withhold votes from Adams to vote for Pinckney, who is just the Southern Revolutionary War general veteran guy who continues to lose the next election in 1804 as well. He was the main Federalist candidate in 1804. And then you've got Hamilton, who writes a whole bunch of things on how much he hates Jefferson, but it doesn't matter because New York City and New York are Republican now, so they vote for Jefferson. 2 months goes by, they got to do all the voting because it takes a while by horse and pony to deliver the votes. Yeah, they're like, okay, it's gonna be a tie between Burr and Jefferson because Jefferson actually wanted it to be a tie because he didn't want like weird hurt feelings with Burr.
Oh.
Yeah, it was really strange because he didn't want there to be like this weird, I don't know. Jefferson was really weird because how he acted on the outside was nothing on how he acted on the inside. And he came back from France. He lived in France for a while. He was like this extravagant man in France. He comes back to America. He dresses in like normal clothes. He's like the common man, even though he owns like hundreds of slaves.
Yeah.
And he's kind of a fraud.
Colin,
so it's
our man of fraud. That's fucked up, but
TJ is kind of weird and gross, but kind of cool at the same time. I don't know. He's really racist. all these guys are pretty fucking racist, except for Hamilton. So we got a tie, 73-73.
Yep.
Right? Goes to the House. So let's give some context for Washington at this point. So Washington, the capital of the U.S., had just moved from Philadelphia.
Yep. To the swamp of Washington,
the previous
DC.
year. Exactly. There's like nothing.
Yeah.
There's turkeys running around. Parts of the Capitol don't even have a roof. There's slaves just like hauling rocks, and there's just piles of dirt, and it's like a big construction zone.
Right.
And it's swampy, it's hot. And so the first session of the House to vote on this, okay, it goes on for 20 hours straight.
Yeesh.
They convene from the previous day. They convened the next day at 9 a.m. from the first one. People were sleeping on the floor. This marathon went on for another 5 days straight, all day, every day.
Oh, dang.
They went through 35 separate ballots, and it was 8-6 for all these ballots. You need 9 to win. There were 16 total votes. It was 8-6 every single time because the other 2 states were tying. So
Right.
at this point, the state's vote is 1. So one state gets 1 vote. So it goes for 5 days. People who were sick had to be like trucked in to vote every couple hours, and then they had to go back to where they were staying at because they were sick. And it's just, people are just like so sick of it. Meanwhile, my boy Hamilton has been bombarding this man from Delaware. His name is James A. Bayard.
Okay.
He is a representative from Delaware, and he's a Federalist. And the Federalists keep voting for Burr because Jefferson was the antithesis to federalism, right? Burr could be like molded into what they want, you know?
Right. Right.
But contrary to the rest of the Federalists, Hamilton, he knows Burr. He has been
Oh,
a lawyer.
right.
He's been a lawyer with him side by side for the previous 10 years. So, and
Okay.
he has worked with him. They are both 2 prominent New York City figures. They know each other very well. When they were lawyers together, they'd work on the same case, and they'd be like, they do really petty shit stuff. Like if you're giving, when you're giving your defense, you have 2 different lawyers. Usually, the more prominent one gets the last say because
Right.
they're more experienced, right?
Right.
And so Hamilton would always like want that, but then Burr would like say everything he's gonna say before that. These guys were extraordinary, amazing, intelligent, but super petty and like super immature. So where were we? Hamilton's sending letters to the Federalists to change his vote to Jefferson instead of Burr. So finally, this guy named James A. Bayard, he meets with these 2 Jeffersonians, other Republican representatives, in a separate room and lays some conditions. He goes, "Okay, if I vote for Jefferson, then you must preserve like all these Hamilton financial institutions that he set up. You can't take them away. You got to maintain the Navy that Hamilton set up, and you can't just fire all the Federalists who are in the federal government but not at the cabinet level. So like you can do whatever you want in the cabinet, but you can't just fire people because they're Federalists. That's garbage."
Yeah.
So then Jefferson, till the day he died, never says that he did some weird electioneering by talking and making like a deal, you know. Basically, like Jefferson meets with these 2 other Jeffersonians, and basically they tell him the deal, and he goes, "Okay, let's do it," you know. But he maintains that like that he maintained
Right.
to his death that like that conversation was just like, "Oh, we were just talking about the weather." So then, yeah, he changes his vote to no vote, which means that Delaware votes for Jefferson, and then he becomes president. And I love historical trends that you can find in today. I made a whole video about historical trends in the 2016 election, literally 5 years ago now. And so I really think that this election was super similar to our most recent election. So Adams is like Trump. He's the incumbent. Jefferson is Joe
Yeah.
Biden.
Yeah, because Adams did
Adams
the
is
thing
kind
where
of
like,
this like
yeah, Adams didn't even like, he like wasn't there when they transferred power too. He
exactly
was too cool for that.
Yep. So he was like kind of racist. He called fucking Hamilton like Creole bastard and like all this
Yeah.
shit. And Adams attempted to control the press. He took
Yeah.
away some First Amendment rights. He was extremely insecure and
Yeah.
was super like prone to angering. And then Jefferson, who's Biden, he seemed extremely radical to the Federalists, but he turned out to be like pretty moderate. He
Right.
kind of governed very similar to Federalists, and he made some like pretty decent changes. And then Adams didn't. He left in the morning before the inauguration. Didn't attend. The greatest thing around this whole thing is that these videos actually got right. It was the first transition of power between 2 different groups in a real modern democracy,
Yeah.
and that kind of shocked the world.
All right. Well, that was.
Yeah, I need to read the John Adams book because like after I finished the Alexander Hamilton book, they paint him in a really negative light,
Oh, really?
and I know he's because he's at the end of his age, he's like kind of bitter and
Yeah.
old, and I don't know. By the way, just for a quick side note, do you know what happens to Burr after all of this?
Yeah. What happens to Burr?
So obviously, we all know, Burr. He kills Hamilton in a duel. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it's that guy.
Yeah. So after while he's still vice president, mind you, And
Wait,
and
the
and
duel was
dueling is
while
illegal.
the duel was while he was vice president.
While he was vice
I didn't
president,
know
to
that.
Jefferson.
I didn't know that.
And so after he kills Hamilton illegally while he's vice president, he
So-
like flees to this island off the coast of South Carolina for like a couple months, and then he returns to Washington as if nothing had happened, and everyone's like, this dude straight up just murdered a guy, one of our most prominent founding fathers, and then just showed up as if nothing happened and just ruled over the Senate as vice president. Everyone's just like, what the fuck is going on? Who is this guy? He then tried to, this is called the Burr conspiracy. This could be another video, but he basically, okay, Burr wanted to be the dictator of Mexico. He wanted to rule Mexico
All right.
as a dictatorship.
Big ambitions.
So basically, he gets this whole thing where there's like supposedly anywhere from like 20 to like a few thousand people involved in this whole thing. But basically, he wanted to go down to like some territory that was owned by the Spanish, and he wanted to like kind of start conflict between America and the Spanish. And then he wanted to like slide in and then take that territory and then rule it himself.
What the fuck?
So like after there's all this fighting, it's like it's like not, after it's not contested anymore, it's like independent. He wanted to like rule in it and rule it himself. And he was on the run for a few months. Then he was arrested, brought to Washington, and tried by Jefferson, his previous vice president, or his
Oh,
previous. Yeah, and he was acquitted. And then he went to London, came back, and then had a terrible, sad life for the next 25 years.
So if this is
then,
all lined up with the current election, Kamala Harris has an interesting
Yes, she has a
decade.
crazy arc. She has a crazy
she
arc
has an
coming.
interesting time ahead of her.
So there you go. I hope I didn't flood it too much.
No, that's
Basically,
great.
the biggest giveaway I can take from this is like the founding fathers were just dudes.
Yeah, they're just dudes
just like you
being
and me.
guys, being bros.
Just dudes being bros.
Yeah,
They're just like you and me.
you know,
not
sometimes
Fucking angels.
they wrote mean things about each other, and sometimes they shot each other.
Yeah.
Funny-
Sometimes they try to be the dictator of Mexico.
He really was sus.
I mean,
That's
Burr might be the
that's-
most sus American of all time. I personally think we should have kept the system where the second place guy gets to be vice president. I mean, if Hillary Clinton was vice president under Donald Trump, that would have been the funniest thing I've
That would have been wild.
That would have been amazing. I would have loved that so much.
I like how they ran into problems with it on literally the third election. So
The funniest thing was like, it was like nobody thought that this was gonna happen. It was
Yeah.
like, what do you mean your whole system is relying on people like not voting for somebody? It's just like Hamilton had to write letters to people in the first two elections not to vote for John Adams, specifically to let Washington become president.
Yeah, that's insane. Well, I appreciate all the stuff. Thanks for helping me out.
No problem.
Hope we all learned a bit. Adios. I wasn't recording. Fuck. I'll just have to use the VOD. It's fine.